delighted to be part of this tribute. Lois is a dear friend. She is a wonderful mentor, and she is just an amazing, amazing woman. I'm going to start by reading a letter from Rob Waldman, who was part of our beginning and who now lives in Seattle, Washington, so is not here tonight. But he was co-founder with Lois of At Home on the Sound and also of the Center for Aging in Place Support. These are the words from Rob. Lois, I owe you a personal debt of gratitude for helping me have a sense of purpose in my post-retirement life, which can never be repaid to you, but which I will do my best to pay forward. From the day I met you, when you interviewed me for a volunteer position in your innovative and award-winning program, Seniors Out Speaking on Medicare, which is what Lois did before she started At Home on the Sound, I was struck with the amazing energy you brought to the table in your Nautilus Dining auxiliary office. As I later found out, you brought to all your projects. You always have several projects going at once and could have had many more had there been more than 24 hours in a day. In fact, I think there must have been more than 24 hours in your day. There were many times when I received an email from your time stamped at 1:30 a.m. and then picked you up for a 9 o'clock meeting and listened to your latest idea for a patient advocacy program or a business incubator for seniors. You were always thinking about something new. You were constantly stepping out of your comfort zone. You have brought energy, innovation, and flexibility to everything that you have done to make Westchester County and Larchmont and Mamaroneck a better place to live. Congratulations, I'm almost done on your recognition today, and may you never stop being an inspiration to others. This is Lois, and Lois continues to be an inspiration. Lois, your energy, your vision, and your innovation have influenced our thinking and changed our community. Not only because you planted the seed and nourished the growth of At Home on the Sound, not only because you founded and developed CAP, the successful Center for Aging in Place, a Westchester organization that helps to start new aging in place organizations in the community and supports those of us who are up and running. Not only because you have brought us so many aging in place initiatives that have improved the lives of older adults in the communities where we have a presence, and not only because you keep us up to date on the latest thinking of the leading thinkers on aging of our time from across the country. But mostly, you are an inspiration because of who you are and what you have taught us, me and many others in this room and beyond. You have lived your life to the fullest, and you haven't stopped yet. Your gift to us has been the very idea of taking charge of our own aging and being in control of our own future. Aging in the 21st century is changing, and Lois, you are teaching us how to do it well. For that, we are indebted to you, and we pay tribute to you this evening.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Paul. It's very humbling to be acknowledged like this. I'm not really used to it. Now, let's hope I can read the notes. Well, first of all, you all know that by now that one of the main reasons I'm here is because I'm so involved in the Aging in Place Village movement. You all know this is a national movement, it's a social movement, and I do think that it's one of the most remarkable things that I've been involved in, not because of myself, but because all of the people who are inspired to work on this project all over the country. Now, first Rob Waldman and I, we shared the mission to organize as many of these groups as possible in Westchester County. And the reason why we wanted to do that was because we felt that if there were several groups, we would be more influential, we would be a force. Now, why did we want to be a force? I wanted to do this, what we're doing, because I was so concerned about healthcare in this country, and I have some serious things to say about that. If there are any doctors in the house, I'm not talking about you. But most people are not aware of the seriousness of the problems in the healthcare system. And this is particularly important for people over 65 to know about, because are any of you aware of the fact that the majority of medical training schools in this country have no program to train doctors in clinical geriatrics?
Yep.
There's a doctor, he's no longer living, but he spent most of his life talking about and fighting ageism. Ageism is one of the reasons he felt that there was so little training in geriatric medicine. He thought that it was based on the stereotypes that are rampant in this country about older people. I saw what he was talking about when my mother was sick in 1969. I saw it again when my father was ill in 1980. I saw it again when one of my best friends was ill. And what I saw that broke my heart was almost everyone who dealt with them, who was supposed to be a caring person, treated them like a child. And that's at the heart of the problem I'm talking about. People think that once someone is 65, maybe 75, they should be treated like a child. When my husband was ill, they said things to him like, "Why are you depressed?" Can you imagine? Is that any way to talk to someone who is really, must have been under some, stress, let's call it. My husband said, "I have no quality of life." And he didn't. And there were very few people in the healthcare profession who did anything to help him in any way. Now, I know that I can't change the healthcare system, and neither can probably one in this room. But there is one thing that we can do. I decided that I would go back to school. My PhD is in sociology, and I don't have any credential in healthcare. I figured nobody would pay any attention to me if I didn't have a healthcare credential of some kind. So I read in the paper an ad for Sarah Lawrence College. They have a health advocacy program there, and I thought, oh, I think that's just for me, because as Katie, my neighbor across the hall, knows, I'm an activist at heart, and I would figure out some way that we could deal with this issue. So I got the degree, and in the course, there were about 4 other students. There were about 18 of us in this class at Sarah Lawrence, and 4 of them were nurses. They had quit their nursing jobs because they were fed up with what they saw. This is what they told me. Do not let anybody you really care about be in the hospital alone. When my husband was in, I'm not going to mention any hospitals, one of the nurses became very successful in the career that she chose for herself after getting the master's. And she was in charge of the risk management department of a major hospital in New York. And she said, get him out of there right away, Lois. Because she said they operate on people without explaining to the people, the patient, what they're going to do or anything. I couldn't get him out of that hospital because they couldn't transfer his records. So we stayed there, and sure enough, among the tests that they gave my husband, they discovered that he had lung cancer. And I had a cancer several years ago, and they, not the same hospital, discovered that I had a lump, which turned out to be insignificant. But I knew of another, I knew whatever they were going to tell my husband, I would get him out of there. So sure enough, I come there one day, and the surgeon is talking to him, and he's talking about planning the surgery. And I said, well, aren't you going to do a biopsy? And he said, a biopsy is too risky. So I said, well, isn't surgery, well, how risky is that? And he looked at me like, who dragged her in? And my husband said to the doctor, we're getting a second opinion, which we did. But I get him to see the second, the other doctor, the pulmonologist who specialized in lung cancer. And he said to me when my husband wasn't in the room, he said, your husband is in no condition to be operated on. So the bottom line here is that, I said before, we can't change the system, but what we can do is change our attitudes and ourselves. And I believe very strongly that it's very important for all of us to have a plan about how we want to be cared for when we are sick. And the good news here is that we have 4 people in this room who are going to work with me, and the 4 of us are going to develop a plan. Now, I don't know how many sessions it's going to take, but you'll hear about it soon. And the people who are going to help me are Elaine and Weingarten, who you know is our executive director, and Ellie Fredston, who you know is our marvelous program director, and Elizabeth Rosenthal. Elizabeth, are you here? Oh, there you are. Okay, hi. So we're gonna work on this program, and we'll let you know, all of you, members and non-members who want to participate. So thank you very much for listening to me. And don't be depressed about what I told you, because it will all work out all right.
And invited anyone who was interested in establishing such an initiative in our community to contact her. And lightning struck.
I was at that meeting, and I was interested. Doreen and Lois and I identified several other likely suspects and invited them to join us. Lynn Reichgott, Ellie Fredston, Lois, Doreen, and I met to discuss the possibilities and problems inherent in establishing such a group, and then figured out what we had to do to get going. We organized focus groups to see what the people in Mamaroneck and Larchmont thought would be necessary, valuable, and attractive services. The template for our organization, which had yet to be named, was Beacon Hill Village in Cambridge, Massachusetts, whose manual Valerie O'Keefe had managed to help us get. By this time, Leslie Molinoff and Friedhilde Mildburn had joined the posse, and the ball really began to roll. And Lois was crucial to the entire process, advising, contributing, nagging.
At the same time that we were working on our project, Lois, as you heard, had other balls in the air, as she always does. Among them, the creation of the Center for Aging in Place and the development of a patient advocacy service. The patient advocacy service later would become a significant component of At Home on the Sound's menu of services. Through Sarah Lawrence College and under the aegis of the Center for Aging in Place, Lois developed a training program for people interested in becoming patient advocates for older adults. Teddy, Christine Randolph, who's here tonight, and I are graduates of that program. Renee DeVries, an active at-home volunteer, a registered nurse, was instructed by Lois personally. She is also a patient advocate and is also here tonight.
We have given a great deal of thought to the appropriate way to recognize Lois for her extensive volunteer efforts across this wide spectrum of activities about which you have heard. All of them have a common theme: bettering the lives of others. And so, Lois, in recognition and appreciation of your work with seniors and in cooperation with the Health Advocacy Graduate Program at your alma mater, Sarah Lawrence College, At Home on the Sound, in your honor, we'll be sponsoring a lecture on aging and living well to be held in autumn of 2015 at the college.
At Home on the Sound is delighted to present you with At Home's proclamation that describes the sponsorship of the lecture in your honor and recognizes your energy, vitality, dedication. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
One other little thing I want to tell you: this proclamation could not have been done without the participation of Marnie Marks, who worked continuously on it.